All right, so um, you've been diving deep into the world of crypto lately and sent over this Crypto Architect Weekly report to unpack together. Good call. It's got some fascinating stuff in it.
It's definitely got a finger on the pulse of the crypto scene.
It does, it does. And perfect timing too, right? You've got that whole October buzz floating around, this idea that October is historically like good for Bitcoin, but the report actually digs into some of the hard numbers on this. What did it find?
Well, it's not just pumpkin spice lattes and good vibes, though. Those might play a part.
Right.
The report actually found that Bitcoin has seen an average 15% price increase during October for the past 5 years. That's more than any other month.
Okay, so there's some real data behind this whole October idea. But this year there's a lot of talk about whether those global economic headwinds we keep hearing about might, put a damper on things. What's the report's take on that?
Well, the analysis suggests that this October could be interesting precisely because of that uncertainty. See, Bitcoin is sometimes seen as kind of a safe haven asset, like digital gold, right?
Okay.
So if people are nervous about the economy, they might actually move towards Bitcoin, which would then, potentially drive up the price.
Right. So it's like this weird inverse relationship. Bad news for the economy could actually equal good news for Bitcoin.
It's definitely a possibility, and the report highlights that. It also points out that this perceived link between Bitcoin and global uncertainty is attracting more attention from traditional finance. We're seeing things like Bitcoin ETFs popping up, which could bring in a whole new wave of investors.
So on the one hand, you've got these big economic factors potentially pushing Bitcoin in one direction. And on the other hand, you've got this October hype, which, let's be honest, is partly driven by sentiment and speculation. It's a lot.
It is, and that's the crypto market for you. This fascinating mix of hard data, technological innovation, and, let's face it, good old-fashioned human psychology.
Wild ride. But speaking of innovation, I noticed the report also mentioned some new projects that have been making waves. Eigenlayer, Sui, Deegen, these names sound like they're straight out of a cyberpunk novel.
Laughters. Maybe so, but they're definitely worth paying attention to. They're all trying to tackle different challenges within the blockchain space.
Let's dig into that a little, shall we? What do these projects actually do? And don't worry, you can spare me this super technical deep dive. Just give me the need-to-know version.
Okay, well, take Eigenlayer, for example. It's all about making blockchains more secure. It does this by basically letting other blockchains kind of rent its security, which makes the entire ecosystem stronger. Think of it like a neighborhood watch program, but for blockchains.
Okay, so Eigenlayer is like a security blanket for blockchains. What about Sui? What's their claim to fame?
Speed and affordability.
Yeah.
Sui is designed to make transactions super, super fast and cheap, which is a big deal for things like online gaming or decentralized finance where every second counts.
Okay, interesting. And then there's Deegen. I gotta admit, that name alone makes me think this one's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, Deegen is short for degenerate, which in the crypto world is basically slang for someone who's very comfortable with high-risk, high-reward investments.
So more of a gamble than the other two. What's the report say about why people are excited about it?
Well, it's all about decentralized finance, or DeFi for short. Deegen is trying to, really push the boundaries of what's possible with DeFi. But it's still early days, and as you can imagine, comes with its fair share of risk.
Yeah, sounds a little too rich for my blood, maybe. Although, while Deegen might be a bit too spicy for some investors, the report seemed particularly interested in one project with supposedly broader appeal. Agoras, what's the story there?
It's connected to the Tau network, right? Right, and Agoras is a fascinating example of how blockchain technology might go way beyond just finance, right? You see, Agoras is the native token of the Tau network, which is trying to build a decentralized knowledge economy.
A knowledge economy? What exactly does that even mean?
Imagine a world where you could trade knowledge just as easily as you trade Bitcoin or Ethereum. That's the big idea behind Agoras and the Tau network.
So instead of buying and selling like physical products, you're buying and selling knowledge. How would that even work in practice?
That's where things get really interesting. Tau uses something called software as sentences. Essentially, it's a new way for people and AI to communicate and collaborate.
Hold on. Software as sentences?
Yeah.
That sounds incredibly complex.
It is complex under the hood, but the concept is actually pretty elegant. Think of it like translating legal jargon into plain English so that anyone can understand it, right? Software as sentences helps AI understand and execute complex agreements on the Tau network. And that opens up well, a lot of possibilities.
Okay, so it's like creating a common language for humans and AI to interact within this knowledge marketplace. But what does that look like in, real world terms? What could you actually do with Agoras?
Let's say you're a software developer. Right now, if you want to sell your code, you often have to go through app stores or other intermediaries, right?
Right.
With Agoras, you could potentially sell your code directly to users, cutting out the middleman.
Interesting. So it's like a more direct way to share and monetize your skill or knowledge.
Exactly. Or imagine researchers being able to share their findings directly with other researchers, getting paid for their work without having to go through traditional academic journals. That's another potential use case.
It's like a decentralized marketplace for knowledge and expertise, all powered by this Agoras token. That's a pretty wild concept. But the report also highlighted some of the risks associated with Agoras, right?
It did. As with any ambitious project, especially in the crypto space, there are always, challenges.
Of course. Let's dive into those a bit. What are some of the potential downsides that the report flagged?
Well, for starters, the sheer complexity of what Tao is trying to achieve can't be overstated. Building a decentralized, self-evolving blockchain is no easy feat.
Right.
There are bound to be technical hurdles, and things could take longer than expected.
Yeah. Right. Even with the most groundbreaking technology, execution is key. What else did the report point out?
Adoption is another big one. Even if they build it, there's no guarantee that people will actually use it, right?
Right.
Agoras needs a thriving ecosystem of users and developers to reach its full potential.
And let's not forget about the competition. The crypto world moves fast, and there are always new projects popping up trying to, solve similar problems.
Absolutely. There are other platforms out there exploring this intersection of AI and blockchain and knowledge sharing. So Agoras isn't alone in this space.
So to sum it up, Agoras has the potential to revolutionize how we think about knowledge and expertise. But it's still early days, and there are significant risks involved.
That's a very fair assessment. Classic example of a high-risk, high-reward proposition.
It's amazing how these projects highlight the breadth of what blockchain technology might be able to do. And it sounds like this Crypto Architect Weekly report is a pretty valuable resource for navigating this complex landscape.
It really is. It really is. They do a great job of kind of cutting through the hype and delivering those key insights.
They do. Well, for those listening who may just be starting their own deep dive into crypto, what would you say is the biggest takeaway from this week's report? If they only remember one thing, what should it be?
That's a good question. I think it would be this. The crypto world is at a crossroads. On one hand, you have factors like global economic uncertainty, potentially pushing more people towards Bitcoin, which in turn draws in more institutional interest. But on the other hand, you have this incredible wave of innovation happening, projects like Eigenlayer, Sui, Deegen, and Agoras, all pushing the boundaries of what blockchain can do.
So it's a time of both uncertainty and opportunity, which I guess kind of sums up the crypto experience in a nutshell, doesn't it?
It really does.
Well, on that note, a huge thank you to you for joining us today and sharing your expertise. It's been enlightening.
My pleasure, as always.
And to you listening, thanks for coming along on this deep dive into the world of crypto. Remember, the crypto space moves fast, so keep exploring, keep asking questions, and maybe we'll catch you on the next deep dive.